Hello, everyone. We all want the same thing, right? We want our online exams to be a fair test of what our students have learned, not some stressful test of their internet connection. Well, it turns out there's this one little setting in Blackboard that often causes way more problems than it solves. So today, we're going to talk about exactly why we need to stop using it and, more importantly, what we should be doing instead.
Okay, let's just cut straight to the chase. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's a directive. The forced completion option in Blackboard is now prohibited for general use. So in this explainer, we're going to break down why this change is so critical. And it's critical for our students for sure, but it's also critical for us.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Forced completion. It seems like a pretty good tool for academic integrity, doesn't it? The whole idea is to make sure a student sits down and finishes an exam in one go. But looking at a ton of feedback and technical support data, we found that in the real world, this feature can cause a lot of frustrating problems. So let's dive into what those are.
So what exactly are we talking about here? When you click that forced completion box, you're basically telling Blackboard, once a student starts this exam, they cannot leave and come back. Any interruption, and I mean any interruption at all, and their attempt is over. The browser closes, the Wi-Fi flickers for just a second, the power blips, and that's it. They are completely locked out.
Right. So what actually happens when things inevitably go wrong? A power flicker, a Wi-Fi drop. What does that really mean for a student who's right in the middle of a high-stakes exam?
These are the usual suspects, right? The things that lead to those panicked student emails we've all received. First up, internet loss. Even a tiny flicker, just a few seconds, is enough to lock a student out. Then you've got the classics, a browser crashing, a laptop battery dying, an accidental click that closes the window. It happens. But this also creates a real issue of fairness, doesn't it? It unfairly penalizes students who just might not have access to the most stable, high-speed internet. And the result of all this? A lost attempt, a totally stressed out student, and ultimately more work for us to go in and fix it.
And here's the real heart of the problem. The huge gap between what we expect and what actually happens. We expect a secure exam, but the reality is a super high risk of technical lockouts. We think we're preventing cheating, but what we're really doing is creating a ton of student anxiety and a flood of emails for us to deal with. We're hoping for a smooth process, but instead, we end up doing manual resets and grade adjustments. The tool just doesn't deliver on its promise.
Okay, so if we're not using forced completion, then what should we be using? Let's get to the good news. Blackboard actually gives us a set of much safer, way more flexible, and more reliable tools to get the same job done, but without all the negative side effects. Let's build our new toolkit. The key here is really about shifting our thinking. Instead of trying to force this one fragile session, we're going to create a robust, timed environment. This new toolkit gives us all the control we need over the assessment, while building in a crucial safety net for our students. It's really about being both secure and fair.
So here it is, the safer exam setup we should all be using from now on. First, and this is the big one, always use the timer and make sure you enable auto-submit. This is your safety net. If a student gets disconnected, their work is saved and they can just log right back in. If time runs out, the exam submits what they've done automatically. Second, use access codes. This is great for controlling the exact start time for everyone. And third, get familiar with test exceptions. This gives you the power to handle those legitimate emergencies for individual students, giving extra time or another attempt without messing up the whole exam for everyone else. This toolkit just gives you more control, and honestly, it's just fundamentally fair.
At the end of the day, this all comes back to our shared mission. We use these powerful online tools to see what our students have learned, but we absolutely have to do it in a way that's fair and supports their success, not in a way that accidentally punishes them for things that are completely out of their control.
So, if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The single best thing you can do to create fairer, less stressful, and more reliable online exams is to simply avoid the forced completion setting. The alternatives we talked about are just better in every single way.
This isn't just about a technical setting, is it? It's really about our collective commitment. By adopting these better practices together, we can make sure our assessments are a true measure of knowledge, not just a random test of who has the best internet connection.
And that really brings us to the end. I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Beyond just this one setting, what's one other small change that I can make or that you can make in our courses that could improve the exam experience for our students? Thank you so much for your time and for your commitment to fair assessment.